Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Matthew. Thank you for joining. I'm going to continue on here with just one more video on military expenditures, the summary from 2023, and looking across the last 20 years. Again, this data comes from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. I've done nothing to alter their data. The only thing, they didn't have Turkey per capita data, so I had to add population figures myself. But other than that, nothing is, of course, changed. This data comes from their website. Great resource when looking at military expenditures and many other things. Just one last video here. Here we have, again, the 2023 spend, okay, in actual dollar terms. There is one more sort of unique metric that we can glean a little bit more info from, and that is, as I just said, per capita. It is per citizen of that country. And, you know, the philosophy of might makes right and how much it takes to protect any individual in a country, of course, becomes philosophical at some level. People have many opinions about foreign policy, intervening in wars that are outside of their borders. These debates are no less prominent today than they've ever been. So that's not the point of this video. It is just to show a simple metric of how much any nation's military spends per person. Again, we have drone warfare. We have a lot of things we can talk about. I'm not going to do that during this video. Just want to show this interesting metric, which a few numbers surprised me here. Okay, so again, 2023 spend, of course, the United States in a league of their own. China, it's a huge country. And so if you look at it per capita, this figure actually is probably going to be quite low. Okay. So let's do that. We'll start out with the 20-year average. I'm going to put the figures on right now. Okay. All right. I want to zoom in on the top 6 or so here. 7. As I said, China, to be expected, is quite small. And it's interestingly small, right? So the United States, this is an average per capita spend over 20 years. Okay. So this includes an increase in spending, but also an increase in the population. $2,150 per person over the last 20 years in America. Okay. China, the most populous country in the world, way low, even though it's the second most militarized per spend in the world. If you look at it per capita, only $118. So very interesting discrepancy there. Again, I understand we're not analyzing warfare, even whether we're talking efficient warfare of drone use or going all the way up to nuclear usage and the expenses incurred there, just looking at the straight numbers. So very low. Western Europe, actually lower than I thought it would be. If you look at, again, this are NATO countries in Western Europe, only $664 per person. Again, the European continent more populous than America, but still, these are the richer Western countries. You would expect this to be higher, but again, this goes to the narrative that Western Europe and all of Europe relies on America for security too much. So you see that there. All right. Even though they spent $260 billion, third place after China in 2023, the 20-year average, only $664 per person. Well under the United States, $2,150. Russia here actually is, I'd say, even slightly higher than I thought it would be. Again, I'm just in my head. It's a large country. Very poor economically, internally. They don't export anything but energy. Of course, that is a huge boon to their economy, their resources. But as I've said, maybe in almost every video here, 1 out of 5 people in Russia don't have a toilet. So honestly, I did not expect this number to be even this high. $446 per person, all right, in Russia over the last 20 years, over the entire Putin reign. That's more than Eastern Europe. Okay, it's more than NATO, Eastern European countries who take their security very seriously, only $340 per person. And then we go to India, okay, even worse than China, to be expected. Okay, India is just a gigantic country, population-wise. Of course, when you look at this per capita, this metric's not going to be great for them. And then we go to Saudi Arabia. This country, as everybody knows, resource-rich, oil-rich, has actually maxed out and been close to the top, if not the top, in every metric. If you look at gross spending, if you look at a percent of GDP, if you look at a percent of their government budget, and if you look at per capita. Okay, so if you're Saudi Arabia and you want to take your security seriously in a volatile region, they are doing just that. Interesting. Let's back it up. Just a couple more things to say here. United Kingdom, quite high, higher than the Western European average, as you might expect, about $1,000 per person in the UK over the last 20 years, still under 50% of what the US has done over 20 years. The other outlier here, which of course we should highlight, is Israel. Very interesting. Israel is above Saudi Arabia and the only country that's close to America's per capita military spend, $2,000. Again, to be expected. But Israel was not always number one in the other categories, percent of GDP or percent of the military budget. Indeed, Ukraine was number one in percent of the military budget. But, you know, if you average it out over 20 years, and if you look at it on a per capita basis, Israel pretty much takes the lead in this category after the United States. And then Ukraine. Again, most of their military spend happened in the last 2 years. This research here ended in 2023. Ukraine has a lot of catching up to do as well. The 20-year average, only $223. Although when I show you the 2023 spend, of course, that's going to be much higher. I think that's all I wanted to show. Norway punching above their weight. Okay, Norway always, unlike their Swedish brethren and Finnish brethren, even though I understand Swedish is Scandic, Nordic. If you include Finland, then you go to the Nordic countries. But nonetheless, Norway has always been in NATO. Sweden and Finland, remaining neutral, have not. And interestingly, you can see Norway's per capita spend quite a bit higher than their brother Sweden, even over 50%, in fact. Okay, Finland actually not as high, but you know, it is what it is. They have a huge reserve army in Finland, the biggest in Europe. So that's the 20-year numbers. Now, let's put the 2023 numbers to see how things have changed in current times. Okay, so these are the 2023 per capita military spends. I'm going to take off the actual gross figures just to lighten up the chart a little bit. Let's look at the top countries again. Everybody is up, as to be expected. But interestingly, you know, it's kind of a law of average things here. It's going to take a long time for China, as big as they are, to reach these figures with Western countries and the United States, Western European countries and the United States. Again, I understand nuclear weapons, nuclear deterrent, or cheap ways to attack now, such as drone warfare. It can change the picture of all of this. I understand that. Still, this is an interesting figure per capita. Okay, but we see, of course, everybody is over their 20-year average for 2023. You know, 30% over the average, 20% or so. Let's back it up, and then, of course, just to show Ukraine. Let's go Germany, France, Ukraine, South Korea here. Okay, South Korea you would expect to be quite high, about at France levels, and then you see Ukraine. 2023 year spend close to Israel's 20-year spend. Still lower than the United States, but $1,700 per capita. This is what Ukraine is having to do to fight their illegal war of aggression against Russia. So to be expected here. Hope you're finding these videos creative and to the point when it comes to navigating the rough waters of the financial system. And I'm happy to share with you a platform that can do the same when it comes to getting a loan secured by your Bitcoin, and that is Debify. Debify is a non-custodial, Bitcoin-backed lending platform designed for people who want to borrow against their Bitcoin while maintaining full control. Debify offers institutional-grade liquidity through independent lenders, allowing for high-volume loans of up to 5 years. All transactions are secured by a unique multi-sig escrow system, ensuring that Bitcoin collateral remains safe and transparent. This setup guarantees that your Bitcoin is not rehypothecated, and you keep full visibility and control throughout the loan process. It's perfect for those who value security and transparency while exploring global stablecoin and fiat lending backed by Bitcoin. So head on over to debify.com today to get started. Unfortunate times that we live in, but this is where we are, and it's an interesting way to look at what countries have to spend on the security of their citizens. Israel even higher, okay, and I expect this number to be even higher a year after October 7th. Israel here, another interesting component of this chart, of course, is now above the United States in a per capita spend. $3,000 per person, whereas the United States, $2,600 per person in 2023. Brazil, very small. Again, law of large numbers, law of averages. You would have think that this would be smaller, just like China and India, but quite a bit smaller than Western European countries or the United States. Only $100 per person, and even lower in 2023 than the 20-year average. Turkey as well, surprisingly to me, lower than the 20-year average. Iran, not high at all here. This figure is also a little bit surprising to me, but yeah, Iran's a huge country, 80 plus million people, and sanctioned and all the rest. Low per capita figure. Finland way up here for 2023, to be expected. The other Scandic countries, Nordic Scandic countries, higher as well. Denmark, nearly double in 2023. And then to the Eastern European nations, just to finish it off, of course, this is my locale. As longtime listeners, viewers know, a couple Western European countries here, of course, but Hungary double, even though Hungary is cozying up to Putin, unfortunately these days. Slovakia double, kind of the same. Lithuania here, more than triple. Estonia, close to tripling. Latvia, more than doubling. Baltics, way up. Slovenia up. And Luxembourg, interestingly. So remember, I gave a little bit of shade to Luxembourg in the last video for how low they were. Interestingly, if you look at it a per capita basis here, the Luxembourgish sort of redeemed themselves. But of course, we're all talking very small gross figures here. But times are changing. People are in a very uncertain economic world and a geopolitical world these days. And people are spending more. Nations are spending more on their security. And it is the same per capita for Luxembourg. So I'm going to leave it there. Hope you enjoyed this one. This will be the end of the military spend videos for a little bit, but if you like that, let me know what you'd like to see, and I will try to analyze these figures in a different way. Otherwise, let me know what you think in the comments, and hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.